Now, our next speaker, Tim Buck, who refused to be costumed, grew up in a small town of Chardon, Ohio.
Correct.
After graduating from Akron University with a major in graphic design, go. See there? That's nice.
All right. Got fans already?
Okay, and graduating from, in graphic design and a minor in illustration, he packed up his car and followed the words of Horace Greeley. He moved out west. He ended up in Estes Park, where he has lived since 1990. Tim has been doing freelance graphic design, has owned and operated his own silkscreen business in Estes Park for 20 years. He has a 13-year-old son who has inherited his sick, deviated sense of humor. Where does this come from? What are we saying here? No, has inherited his sense of humor. Tim has been drawing the local herd cartoon strip since 2000 in the Estes Park News. So at this time, Tim is going to do a presentation on, what else? The local herd.
Okay, well, I first started off as a cute kid like many of all of us, but I was given the name Tim Buck. So I quickly discovered Timbuktu. And the funny thing is, it was made people laugh, and I always wondered why at an early age, but it did teach me to laugh at myself and be able to take a joke. And so combined with my interest in cartooning, as most kids, they get attracted to Disney. So as a kid, I would redraw Disney cartoons over and over again, and of course wanted to grow up to be a cartoonist. And so when I ended up going to college, I was first a computer science major because I was going to go get a job instead. But I ended up my junior year in college switching over to art, which my father wasn't too happy about. But so I started doing a cartoon strip in the local college paper, and this was my first published cartoon, the top one. After graduation, I headed out west, ended up in Estes Park, where I started doing T-shirts, and this was my first couple designs that I did. So of course, being up in Estes Park, you tend to see a lot of elk. And so this one has done pretty well for me. And at one point in 2000, I got the commission to do a new beer label for the Estes Park Brewery, and had a lot of controversy with it because they thought they were feeding the waste barley, but they weren't. And this ended up being on the cover of the Denver Post one issue, so I kind of got famous for that. A couple of months later, the Estes Park News started up, and I heard about it, and I approached them and I said, well, I want to do a cartoon strip for your paper. I had about 2 weeks to come up with a concept, and so I decided, well, I'm going to do it on the elk. And so this was the very first cartoon strip that I did. And since then, I've been since then, I've created about 367 cartoons, and currently I'm upgrading a lot of them to full color, because at first the news was just in black and white, and so now I have the pleasure of doing everything in color. So I'm going through a lot of the old good ones, and I'm updating them to color. So yeah, I'm having fun with it. And a lot of times, like, the very first thing people ask me is like, well, how do you come up with your ideas? And basically, a lot of times in Estes Park, when you're driving around, you'll see elk in certain situations. And really, a lot of times, I'll just ask myself, I wonder what the elk are thinking right now. And so when you ask yourself that question, sometimes you get an answer. And so a lot of times, that's how I'll come up with a cartoon. Other times, I just like to put elk in human situations, like, and see what happens. And at other times, I'm just thinking of goofy ideas. And here you will see a typo. I spelled marshmallow wrong, which my mom pointed out to me. But at other times, Here's the it's other times I'll go and what's popular culturally and on the media at that point. And a lot of times, too, like this situation, if you've ever seen the magpies on the back of elk, it is very funny. And so just imagine. And then also, too, I like to have fun with the elk with their radio collars and just how they're observed and giving the elk a lot of intelligence like that would surprise humans. So that's a pretty popular way that I get ideas. And in 2008, I printed my first book, which was basically about 200 cartoons. And I kind of combined the cartoons and organized them by season. And it was kind of interesting to do that because once I combined the cartoons, I realized that I could almost start to tell some stories with them. And of course, I like to have fun with human holidays and how elk would do their thing on holidays. And but I also don't want to forget the other animals because the local herd is not just about elk. I mean, it's about all the different animals and all the different characters in the local environment. And so yeah, and it's funny too, like you would think that I love cartooning and I love reading cartoons, but I've had to stop like in the last 6 years reading other cartoons because I get afraid that I'm going to read a cartoon and then about 3 years from now, I'm going to think it's my own idea. So I've stopped reading other cartoons and just concentrate on my own. And of course, the biggest theme with elk is their rut season. So I have a lot of fun with the rut season in the elk. And this poor guy here, you know. And so nowadays with cartooning, it's a whole different market because newspapers aren't doing well. So you got to have a Facebook page. So this is my Facebook page. And then after this will be my website page too. So actually I have the cartoon printed in the Estes Park News, and that's the only place I have it printed. And then I do post it on the Facebook page and then on my website. And it is a challenge these days to be a cartoonist, so I encourage you all to support your local cartoonist because it is a true American art form. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. That was great. Makes you wonder, you know, when you're driving, the wife and I just took a Colorado vacation, and you're driving down the highway, and they tell you, caution, game crossing. How do they know they're supposed to cross there? I mean, what do they just randomly think, here's where I'm going to cross? And somebody once hit one and said, well, didn't they see that it wasn't not the game crossing? It's further back. So, you know, you start to wonder, that was very good that we do think of those things.